Hi, I'm movie man Eric Houston, and I am here with a special holiday treat for you, one of my classic classes. This one's from about a year ago, and it's all about Hollywood's greatest Christmas movies, about White Christmas and It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street. I hope you enjoy it. So I want to thank everybody for joining me today for this look at Hollywood's great classic Christmas movies. And we're going to start looking at those movies by going all the way back to Christmas Eve of 1944. That's when this guy, writer Valentine Davies, found himself pushing through the crowd at a department store looking for a present for his wife and wondering to himself, what would Santa think if he could see all of these people, sort of bustling and shoving and shopping like this? He shared the idea with his friend, movie director George Seaton. And Seaton decides to option the story for 20th Century Fox, seeing it as a possibility for a kind of a low-budget B-movie. And they consider a number of titles for the story. They think about calling it Mr. Kringle. They think about calling it Miracle on Herald Square. And they think about calling it It's Only Human. But by the time production begins in 1947, they've settled on the title Miracle on 34th Street. And the story of a single mother and her precocious daughter. Neither of them believe in Santa Claus or Christmas until they meet a man who just might be the real-life Kris Kringle working at Macy's.
And Susan's the reason I asked you to drop down. She's a little confused, and I thought maybe you could help to straighten her out.
I'd be glad to.
Would you please tell her that you're not really Santa Claus? That there actually is no such person?
Well, I'm sorry to disagree with you, Mrs. Walker, but not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
No. You misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. What's your name?
Kris Kringle. I'll bet you're in the first grade.
Second.
I mean your real name.
That is my real name. Second grade?
It's a progressive school.
Oh, it's a progressive school.
May I have this gentleman's employment card, please?
Yes, Mrs. Walker.
This dress is very cute. Where did you get such a lovely outfit?
Here at Macy's, we get 10% off.
Please don't feel that you have to keep pretending for Susan's benefit. She's a very intelligent child and always wants to know the absolute truth.
Good, because I always tell the absolute truth. Now, about your school, what's the name of your teacher?
Mrs. Haney.
Mrs. Haney.
Here it is, Mrs. Walker.
Thank you.
Well, what else do you do besides read and play games?
We have rest periods. 1/2 hour.
Oh, I don't suppose you care for that, eh?
No, we're not allowed to talk or anything. Tuesday, Chester Richards, he kept talking all the time.
Maureen O'Hara plays the mother. Maureen was an Irish actress and one of 20th Century Fox's most reliable stars. She had starred in How Green Was My Valley with John Wayne, and actually a number of other pictures with the Duke, including Rio Grande, The Quiet Man, The Wings of Eagles, McClintock, and Big Jake. When they were preparing to make Miracle on 34th Street, Maureen had just flown to Dublin to visit her family after World War II, having not been able to see them for pretty much the entirety of the war, and was furious to be recalled to Hollywood so quickly, although she immediately knew the script was special. Natalie Wood plays her daughter. Natalie was born Natasha Girton and had only just changed her name to Natalie Wood when they began making Miracle on 34th Street. She had a photographic memory and could cue her fellow actors if they forgot their lines because Natalie could remember all of them. She was actually shooting 2 other films almost simultaneously with Miracle on 34th Street. The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and Scudda Hoo, Scudda Hay. For Kris Kringle, producers turned to character actor Edmund Gwenn.
Well, young lady, and what's your name?
I'm sorry, she doesn't speak English. She's Dutch. She just came over. She's been living in an orphan's home in Rotterdam ever since, well, we've adopted her. I told her you wouldn't be able to speak to her, but when she saw you in the parade yesterday, she said you were Santa Claus, as she calls you, and you could talk to her. Well, I didn't know what to do.
Hallo, ik ben blij dat je gekomen bent.
Oh, u bent Sinterklaas.
Ja, zeker.
Ik wist het wel. Ik was zeker dat u het zou begrijpen.
Natuurlijk. Zeg maar wat je zou willen hebben van Sinterklaas.
Niks. Ik heb van alles. Ik wil alleen maar bij deze lieve dame zijn.
Wil je wat voor mij zingen?
Sinterklaas kapoentje, geef het in mijn schoentje, geef het in mijn laarsje. Dank u Sinterklaasje, Sinterklaas kapoentje, geef wat in mijn schoentje, geef wat in mijn laarsje. Dank.
It's worth remembering that Miracle on 34th Street is very much a post-World War II movie, although it's easy to forget that context now. And that scene that we just saw would have played particularly powerful to a post-World War II audience, as it's kind of lost from the text of the movie now, but we're supposed to understand that the little girl in the scene is a war orphan who has fled the Netherlands following World War II, and doesn't have her family or friends anymore. And it makes an already powerful film even more heartwarming to recognize that aspect. Edmund Gwenn was a British character actor who had had Broadway and West End success and appeared in 4 early Alfred Hitchcock films. He was so wonderful and convincing in the role of Santa Claus that Natalie Wood began to think he really was Santa, and was shocked when he appeared at the wrap party of the movie without his trademark beard. The adults in the cast also had found themselves a bit wrapped up, and everyone was really shocked to see him without the beard. There was one hitch to the production of the movie, in that the story called for Macy's and Gimbels to appear in the movie by name from the very start. But there was a problem figuring out, well, how would you get Macy's and Gimbels involved and agree to do this movie? And so the director and 20th Century Fox struck a deal with the stores, giving both stores the ability to order cuts or reshoots if they didn't like the finished film. This was an extremely risky gamble, and something that even then, and let alone now, you would never really do with a movie, to put so much power over the final cut of the film in the hands of these 2 stores who might be picky about their images. But that's what they had to do to secure their participation. Director George Seaton also wanted to shoot an actual Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. The studio, though, didn't want to pay for it to fly Seaton and the entire crew and some of the cast out to New York City and film, and so Seaton paid for it himself out of his own pocket. They shot in the bitter freezing cold on the street, and the parade was not about to stop for them to be able to shoot key scenes or redo takes if they needed. So filming had to be quick and precise. After the parade, at the height of the Christmas shopping season, 100 crew members descended onto the real New York Macy's to film the crowd shopping. Additional Macy's scenes and much of the rest of the film were shot then in Los Angeles on sets. The shoot was an unusually easy one for the cast and crew, but the entire time that question of whether or not Macy's and Gimbels would have a problem with what they had shot loomed over the production. Once finished, the producers screened the film for executives from Macy's and Gimbels separately. Fortunately, both stores loved the finished film. 20th Century Fox executive Darryl Zanuck was eager to release the film right away. The only problem was that it was the middle of the summer. Still, the studio decides to release the movie early anyway, reasoning more people go to the movies during the summer than they do during the winter. But they're reluctant to advertise a Christmas movie in the summer. And so the advertising for Miracle on 34th Street tried to hide the Christmas theme. As you can see looking at the poster, there's nothing about it that's particularly Christmassy. Santa is only seen in the background of the poster without his trademark outfit, and the final trailer doesn't even show Kris Kringle.
is the greatest picture I have ever made. And I've got the angle on the trailer. Boys, we've got to get across to the public that that picture has everything. Why, it's hilarious. It's romantic. It's tender. It's charming. It's delightful. It's exciting. And it's groovy.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
20th was also buoyed by audience reactions to early preview screenings, where the audience were just spectacularly excited, particularly by the courtroom scenes where a lawyer tries to prove Chris is the real Santa Claus.
I understand the post office receives thousands of these letters every year.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be very happy to see them.
Yes. Produce them, Mr. Gailey. Put them here on my desk.
But, Your Honor...
Put them here on the desk. Put them...
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, every one of these letters is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office has delivered them. Therefore, the Post Office Department, a branch of the federal government, recognizes this man, Kris Kringle, to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute it. Case dismissed.
Upon release, the movie received tons of great reviews from critics and audiences alike. And it became so loved that the film ended up running for a solid 6 months, all the way through Christmas after all. It would be nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, and won Oscars for the story, the screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Edmund Gwenn.
Edmund Gwenn of The Miracle on 34th Street.
Now I know there's a Santa Claus.
The movie would be revisited numerous times throughout the years. There was a 60s Broadway version called Here's Love, and on TV it would be remade in 1959 with Ed Wynn, a 70s TV version with Sebastian Cabot, and in 1994 in a theatrical remake with Richard Attenborough. Of course, these are only a few of the men who have played Santa Claus in the movies over the years. The very first movie, Santa Claus, appeared in 1898 in the movie called Santa Claus, which was directed by a man named G.A. Smith. It's a British short silent film with an unknown actor playing Santa Claus. Since then, Santa has appeared in countless films, TV shows, and cartoons, and has been played by the likes of Tim Allen, Ed Asner, Alec Baldwin, Brian Blessed, Lloyd Bridges, Beau Bridges, Bruce Campbell, Art Carney, Bryan Cranston, Paul Giamatti, Steve Guttenberg, Tom Hanks, Leslie Nielsen, and Kurt Russell. But even with all of these great movie Santa Clauses, you don't really need Santa for a Christmas movie. Sometimes all you need is an iconic Christmas song.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write.
The song White Christmas was written by Irving Berlin in 1942. Berlin was a Russian Jewish immigrant who could neither read nor write music, but was nonetheless the author of more than 1,000 songs like There's No Business Like Show Business and God Bless America. He wrote White Christmas poolside as a satire, either at the La Quinta Hotel in La Quinta, California, or the Arizona Baltimore Hotel. Regardless of where he wrote it, he was away working and was feeling homesick for his family in New York. There's even a whole verse to the song that's rarely sung that sets White Christmas firmly in LA. It goes, "The sun is shining, the grass is green, the orange and palm trees sway. There's never been a day in Beverly Hills, LA, but it's December the 24th and I'm longing to be up north." The song stayed in a drawer until it was finished a couple of years later. When he finished it, Berlin remarked to his secretary, "I've just written a new song. Not only is this the best song I've ever written, it's the best song anybody's ever written." The song debuted on Bing Crosby's radio show in 1941, mere weeks after Pearl Harbor, to a nation ready to feel something joyful again.
Just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and listen to hear many bells in the snow.
8 months later, it was featured in the Bing Crosby movie Holiday Inn.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know,
where the treetops glisten
where the treetops glisten
and children listen.
and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write.
Despite winning the Oscar that year for Best Original Song, the song in the movie wasn't really remarked upon much by the public, and they sort of lost interest with it rather quickly. Instead, it was Armed Forces Radio playing the song the following Christmas in 1942 to thousands of homesick GIs that made the song a massive hit and a part of the American DNA. 50 million copies were sold that were sung by Bing, and it became the world's best-selling single. It's estimated that White Christmas has sold up to 100 million copies when you include other singers. Speaking of Bing Crosby, he had a long and fascinating career as a popular musician. He was born Harry Lillis Cosby Jr. and got his nickname from a forgotten comic strip called Bingo from Bingville. He was one of the earliest of the so-called crooners, moving American popular music away from the belting style of singers like Al Jolson, who sang loudly to reach the back of theaters. The advent of radios, microphones, and music recordings meant singers like Crosby could adopt a smoother, easier, almost conversational musical style. His fame exploded in the 1940s, in part because of his frequent work with the USO, which endeared him to American soldiers, who even voted him the person most responsible for GI morale, ahead of even Bob Hope, General Eisenhower, and President Roosevelt. Life magazine said of Bing Crosby in their June the 18th, 1945 issue, America's #1 star, Bing Crosby, has won more fans, made more money than any entertainer in history. Today, he is a kind of national institution. 9 out of 10 singers and band leaders listen to Crosby's broadcast each Thursday night and follow his lead. The day after he sings a song over the air, any song, some 50,000 copies of it are sold throughout the U.S. Time and again, Crosby has taken some new or unknown ballad and made it a hit single-handedly and overnight. He has achieved greater popularity, made more money, and attracted vaster audiences than any other entertainer in history. Bing wasn't just a singing sensation. He was a movie star too, and made several road pictures with Bob Hope, appearing in well over 50 feature films overall. White Christmas would see Bing play an ex-GI turned entertainer trying to save a resort owned by his former general.
We'll follow the old man wherever he wants to go, long as he wants to go, opposite to the foe. We'll stay with the old man wherever he wants to stay, long as he stays away from the battle's fray. Because we love him, and especially when he leads us on the war. And we'll tell the kiddies we answer duty's call, with the grandest son of a soldier of them all. Stay with the old man wherever he wants to stay, long as he stays away from the battle's fray. Because we love him, and especially when he keeps us on the ball. And we'll tell the kiddies.
White Christmas entered production initially as a conscious effort to create a follow-up to Holiday Inn, with Crosby's Holiday Inn co-star Fred Astaire on board to appear in the film. Like Holiday Inn, it would be a showcase musical comprised of multiple unrelated songs, many of them from unrealized projects. For example, the song What Do You Do with a General was originally written for a project called Stars on My Shoulders that never quite made it to stage. Astaire, though, felt that he was getting too old and decided not to appear in White Christmas. Donald O'Connor was considered for the role, having co-starred with Bing in Anything Goes, but Donald O'Connor fell ill. Enter then Danny Kaye, which really excited Irving Berlin.
The theater. What's happened to the theater? Especially where dancing is concerned. Chaps who did taps aren't tapping anymore. They're doing choreography. choreography. Heps, who did steps that would stop the show in days that used to be. Through the air they keep flying like a duck that is dying. Instead of dance, it's choreography.
Kay plays Bing's sidekick in the film, and at the time was largely known as a singer of novelty songs, particularly his so-called patter songs that involved fast talking. A particularly popular one was called Tchaikovsky, where Danny Kaye sings a list of Russian composers in rapid succession.
You know, I like that music. Who wrote it?
Tchaikovsky!
Tchaikovsky? I love Russian composers. There's Malachevsky, Rubinstein, Arensky, Tchaikovsky, Sapelnikov, Dmitriev, Cherepnik, Krzyzanowski, Godowski, Artabuchov, Moneyushko, Akimenko, Soloviev, Prokofiev, Pyomkin, Koryschenko. There's Winkler, Bortny, Anki, Rebekov, and Yinsky. There's Metr, Balakirov, Zolotarev, and Kwaschinsky. And Sokolov, and Kopolov, Tukhelsky, and Klanovsky. And Shostakovich, Borodinglier, and Novakovsky. There's Lyadov, and Karganov, Barkeyevich, Panchenko. And Dargumisky, Chervachevsky, Ryabin, Vasilyenko. Stravinsky, Rimsky, Kosakov, Kluchowski, and Grechaninov, and Glazunov, and Cesar Kvikalinikov, Rachmaninov. Stravinsky, and Grechaninov, Rumshinsky, and Rachmaninov. I really ought to stop. The subject has been broken. Stravinsky, Grechaninov, Rumshinsky, Rachmaninov. I better stop because we feel we all have undergone enough.
Later in life, Kay would become the first ambassador at large for UNICEF and was absolutely devoted to the charity. Rosemary Clooney joined the cast as well and plays an up-and-coming singer, part of a sister act and Bing's love interest. Rosemary Clooney was part of a family of entertainers. Her sister Betty Clooney was a singer and TV star, and Rosemary was married to character actor Jose Ferrer. She's the mother of actor Miguel Ferrer and the mother-in-law of Debbie Boone. She is also the aunt of popular actor George Clooney. She came to fame by recording the song Come On to My House.
Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you apple, a plum, and a pomegranate too. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you peach and pear, and I love your hair. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you everything, 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 everything. Come on to my house.
That song, believe it or not, was written by William Saroyan, who was the creator of Alvin and the Chipmunks. It also it was so popular that it inspired numerous parodies, like Robert Q. Lewis's Where Is Your House?
Hey, Rosie, please tell me, where's your house, where's your house? You told me I should come. Where's your house, where's your house? I'm asking everyone. Where's your house, where's your house? I don't know where to look. Where's your house, where's your house? I don't find it in the telephone book. You told me that you'd give me apple pie and a roast beef rare. I'm like to let you give me, but how can I eat if I don't get there?
Believe it or not, Rosemary Clooney hated the song, Come On to My House, and only recorded it out of contractual obligation. Still, worked out pretty well for her. Over her career, she had a number of hit records, including duets with Marlene Dietrich. Sisters is, without a doubt, her most memorable hit from White Christmas. The song is a duet, but Clooney actually sings both parts. Co-star Vera Ellen, known as one of the hardest working and most versatile dancers in Hollywood, couldn't sing and would be dubbed by Trudy Stevens throughout the rest of the movie.
There were never such devoted sisters. Never had to have a chaperone, no sir. I'm here to keep my eye on her, caring, sharing every little thing that we are wearing. When a certain gentleman He wore the dress and I stayed home. All kinds of weather, we stick together, the same in the rain or sun. Two different faces, but in tight places, we think and we act as one. Those who've seen us know that not a thing could come between us. Many men have tried to split us up, but no one can. Lord help the mister who comes between me and my sister. And Lord help the sister who comes between me and my man.
While Vera Ellen couldn't sing, ironically, Rosemary Clooney couldn't dance. And a lot of the choreography from that number, the big fans and such, are built around trying to hide that fact. Speaking of sisters, Bing was very uncomfortable with the drag number that follows, where he and Danny Kaye sort of impersonate the two actresses and do the number again. Kaye kept hitting Bing with his feathers as a way to improvise and lighten Bing up during the number. Bing's laughter in the scene is absolutely genuine. White Christmas was directed by Michael Curtiz, who also directed Casablanca, The Adventures of Robin Hood, and directed 10 stars to Oscar nominations. White Christmas was far and away the biggest film of 1954, grossing $12 million, which is equivalent to about $112 million today. And when adjusted for inflation, remains the highest grossing musical of all time.
Snow, snow,
Snow, snow, snow.
It won't be long before we'll all be there with snow.
Snow, snow. I want to wash my hands, my face, and hair with snow.
Snow, I long to clear a path and lift a spade of snow.
Snow, to see a great big man entirely made of snow.
Snow, where it's snowing all winter through, that's where I want to be.
Snowball throwing, that's what I'll do. How I'm longing to ski through the snow.
Those glistening houses that seem to be built of snow.
Snow, oh, to see a mountain covered with a quilt of snow. What is Christmas with no snow?
When you think about Christmas movies, it's easy to think of Miracle on 34th Street or White Christmas. But throughout the 80s and 90s, there were several movies made that feature Christmas prominently that we might not think of as Christmas movies. Movies like Gremlins or Iron Man 3. Die Hard is set at Christmas, as is The Thin Man, Batman Returns, and even Trading Places. But of course, some great Christmas movies spend little of their time on the holiday itself.
Mary, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow and the next day and next year and a year after that. I'm shaking the dust of this crummy little town off my feet, and I'm going to see the world. Italy, Greece, the Parthenon, the Colosseum. And then I'm coming back here and go to college and see what they know. And then I'm going to build things. I'm going to build airfields. I'm going to build skyscrapers 100 stories high. I'm going to build bridges a mile long. Well, you going to throw a rock? Hey, that's pretty good. What'd you wish, Mary?
Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight? Can't you come out tonight? Can't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight?
Dance by the light of the moon. What'd you wish when you threw that rock?
Oh, no.
Come on,
no.
tell me.
If I told you, it might not come true.
What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
If you've somehow avoided seeing it, It's a Wonderful Life is a movie about George Bailey, a man who wants to leave behind his small town of Bedford Falls to see the world, but who, through various circumstances, ends up staying and running the family loan business. Near the end of the movie, he questions the value of his life until an angel named Clarence shows George the true impact he's had on his town, his friends, and his family. The story White Christmas It's a Wonderful Life, began, believe it or not, as a Christmas present. In 1943, writer Philip Van Doren Stern wrote a short story called The Greatest Gift. When he couldn't sell it, he had 200 copies printed that he sent as Christmas cards to his friends. RKO caught wind of the story and bought it for $10,000 3 months later, planning for Cary Grant to star. 3 scripts were written, but none of them really work. Director Frank Capra read the story and saw the potential, and he approached RKO. RKO was looking to unload what they thought was a turkey and sold the property to Capra for the same $10,000. Capra had just returned from World War II, where he served with the Army Signal Corps. He was uninterested in returning to studio filmmaking and wanted more artistic freedom. And so he formed an independent production company called Liberty Films alongside 4 powerhouse directors who had also served in the Signal Corps. Samuel J. Briskin was the former production head at Columbia. William Wyler had directed Ben-Hur, The Best Years of Our Lives, and Mrs. Miniver, all of which won Best Picture and Best Director. And George Stevens had made The Diary of Anne Frank, Shane, and Giant, had made or would go on to make. Capra was known for his upbeat optimism and movies like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and It Happens One Night. That movie was Oscar's very first Grand Slam, meaning it won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay, a feat which wouldn't be equaled until the 1990s. Capra would later call It's a Wonderful Life his favorite film of all his films, which, as you can see, is saying something. In writing a new script, Capra built upon the ideas from all 3 of the previous scripts, building up the town and its characters to create a believable and vivid world that he populated with tons of great characters. Among them, Uncle Billy, played by Thomas Mitchell, who had also appeared in Gone with the Wind, Stagecoach, and High Noon. For the role of Uncle Billy, though, Capra also considered actors Walter Brennan, Adolphe Menjou, and W.C. Fields. For the role of Mr. Potter, they cast Lionel Barrymore, who had won Best Actor for A Free Soul, the Best Actor Oscar for A Free Soul in 1931, and had played Dr. Gillespie in the 9 Dr. Kilgare and 6 Dr. Gillespie spin-off movies. In his later years, he would play Scrooge in a series of annual TV broadcasts. As with Uncle Billy and Thomas Mitchell, Lionel Barrymore wasn't necessarily the only actor thought of for the role of It's a Wonderful Life's villain. Producers also considered Claude Rains, Charles Coburn, and Vincent Price. Capra said later that he received more mail about the lack of a comeuppance for Potter than any other part of the film. Mr. Gower, the druggist, was played by H.B. Warner, who had played Christ in the movie The King of Kings and had been typecast in sort of similar roles ever since. He was thrilled by the role of Mr. Gower, saying, "I'm playing the damnedest, dirtiest bum you ever saw, a proper drunk, thanks to Capra." Little Rascals star Carl Alfalfa Schweitzer also appears in the movie as the guy who opens up the gym floor.
What's the matter, Othello? Jealous? Did you know there's a swimming pool under this floor? And did you know that button behind you causes this floor to open up? And did you further know that George Bailey is dancing right over that crack? I've got the key.
Schweitzer has the distinction of being the only actor to appear in 2 of these classic Christmas movies, as he also has a blink and you'll miss it cameo in White Christmas, playing Rosemary Clooney and Vera Ellen's ugly brother.
Nice out. That's quite an act you kids have there. It's a funny thing Benny never told us there's so much talent in the family, huh?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Benny didn't want to take advantage of an old Army friendship. You know how shy he is, so modest and retiring. It's a family characteristic. I have a recent snapshot here.
Oh? He always was a good-looking kid.
Perhaps the most experienced actor of all, though, to appear in It's a Wonderful Life was actually Uncle Billy's pet raven. He was played by Jimmy the Raven, also known as Jimmy the Crow, and Jimmy appeared in 1,000 movies from the 1930s through the 1950s. He also, for example, plays the crow that lands on the scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, and appeared in Frank Capra's film You Can't Take It With You, where he so charmed the director that Capra cast Jimmy the Raven in every one of his subsequent pictures. Jimmy was owned by animal trainer Curly Twyford, who found Jimmy in a nest in the Mojave Desert. Jimmy knew a number of tricks, including typing, opening letters, riding a tiny motorcycle, and supposedly understood 50 words of English. He made $500 a week, as well as another $200 a week for Twyford. MGM was the studio who used him the most and had insured Jimmy for $10,000. For the role of Mary, Capra considered actresses Jean Arthur, Olivia de Havilland, and Ginger Rogers, but chose a young contract player named Donna Reed, who had appeared in a number of similar roles. For the star, there was really only one person that Capra considered, Jimmy Stewart, who had also just recently returned from the Army and who was a frequent Capra collaborator. Jimmy had actually reached out to Capra about making a film together, wanting to make something more optimistic after the long war.
Help me, Clarence! Get me back! Get me back! I don't care what happens to me! Get me back to my wife and kids! Help me, Clarence, please! Please! I want to live again! I want to live again! I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again. Hey, George! George! You all right? Hey, what's the matter?
Now get out of here, Bert, or I'll hit you again. Get out of here.
What the Sam Hill you yelling for, George?
George. Bert, do you know me?
Know you? You kidding? I've been looking all over town trying to find you. I saw your car piled into that tree down there, and I thought maybe you... Hey, your mouth's bleeding. Are you sure you're all right?
What you...
My mouth's bleeding, Bert! My mouth's bleeding! Zuzu's pedals. Zuzu... There they are! Bert! What do you know about that?
The town of Bedford Falls, which looks so real and so lived in, was actually one of the longest sets ever created for a motion picture, and included 75 stores and buildings and covered more than 4 acres. Up to the point of making It's a Wonderful Life, movie snow had been made out of cornflakes, but the crunch by walking on them made recording sound impossible. It was going to make things for It's a Wonderful Life very different. And so Capra tasked his special effects crew with coming up with an alternative. Instead of using cornflakes, they ended up using a combination of shaved ice, gypsum, foamite, soap, and water, creating for the first time artificial movie snow. The team won a special Oscar for the achievement. And it helped to have this snow because all of the winter scenes were shot during a record-breaking summer heat wave. This same formula, or a variation there on it, is still what's used for movie snow today. Now, not everything that appears in the movie went as planned, even though there was clearly so much tight planning between the large sets and the skilled actors and everything down to the movie snow. But as with everything, some things are unexpected, like this.
Old building alone, pal, huh?
Now you just turn this way, and then right straight down there.
Oh, that way, huh? My wild Irish road. I'm all right. The sweetest flower.
That sound of the garbage cans being knocked over by Uncle Billy was an accident. A stagehand had accidentally knocked over a pile of props at exactly that moment. And the actor playing Uncle Billy and Jimmy Stewart improvised to make it sound like Uncle Billy had ran into a trash can. Capra ended up giving the Wayward Crewman a $10 bonus for improving the movie. There was a lot riding on the possible success or failure of It's a Wonderful Life. The movie had cost a lot of money to make because of the elaborate sets, because of the big cast, and because of the burden of funding the film independently by not using an established movie studio. When it was released in theaters in December of 1946, It's a Wonderful Life received kind of a shrug. People liked it, but they just weren't that interested. And the film failed to make back its rather inflated budget. Liberty Films, which had held such promise, was sold to Paramount after just this one picture. It's a Wonderful Life has received the classic status it has today, largely thanks to repeated airings on local TV stations, who falsely believed the movie had fallen into the public domain and would air it over and over and over again every Christmas. It is now considered one of the greatest movies of all time by no less than the American Film Institute.
I could. The fool flew all the way up here in a blizzard.
Harry, how about your Banford in New York?
Oh, I left right in the middle of it. As soon as I got Mary's telegram. Good idea, Ernie. A toast. To my big brother, George, the richest man in town. That's a Christmas present from a very dear friend of mine.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right.
Attaboy, Clarence.
Thank you for joining me for this look at classic Hollywood Christmas movies. Please, if you liked this video, please comment on the video, like the video, subscribe to the Movie Man Eric YouTube channel, or email me at eric@northmetrotv.com to let me know that you liked it. Emailing me is a great way to get on my mailing list so you can find out about these new classes when they're coming out, or by subscribing to the channel, then you're going to get them in your feed as soon as I post them. Thank you very much for joining me, and please stay safe.